Hello and welcome to News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Annetta Felix. The Nigerian government has proposed 8.73 trillion naira for the 2019 budget. The sum is 400 billion naira lower than the 2018 budget. The Minister of Budget and National Planning, Udoma, says the Federal Executive Council has also agreed to peg the price of crude oil per barrel at $60, exchange rate at $305, while daily crude oil production put at 2.3 million barrels per day. He says medium-term expenditure framework for 2019 to 2021 has been approved by the Council and that it will soon be submitted to the National Assembly for further consideration.
The MTEF FSP that was approved today is designed to translate the strategic development objectives of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan into a realistic and implementable budget framework for the medium term. As you know, relevant inputs had been from engagements with stakeholders. The last such engagement was just last week. So the inputs from stakeholders were part of the document that was submitted.
The Nigerian Senate has adjourned its plenary for 2 weeks. Senate President Bukola Saraki has announced the House will resume on November 6th after the 2-week break, which is to allow committees carry out its oversight functions properly. The Senate committees are expected to meet with heads of ministries, departments and agencies, especially on the implementation of the 2019 federal budget and the recently approved Eurobond. The new adjournment comes less than a month after the lawmakers resumed from a 2-month recess to observe their annual vacation. Meanwhile, before plenary was adjourned, a senator representing Rivers West, Osinaka Chukwudozie, defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. In the House of Representatives, lawmakers in the lower chambers have passed a 4th amendment of the electoral law. The new approval comes less than 24 hours after the Senate also passed the bill again. In passing the bill, the House adopted the report by a joint Senate and House of Representatives committee on the bill, which was presented by Aishatu Duku. Before the bill was passed, Speaker Yakubu Jagara reshuffled chairpersons of some of the House committees. The Speaker named Abdul Mumin Jibrin, former Appropriations Committee chairman, to head the Committee on Land Transport. Or the new chairpersons of committees are Olka Jev, FCT, Edward Pajok, Rules and Business, and Muntari Dantuse, FCT Judiciary. It was also yet another round of defection at the House of Representatives during the plenary on Wednesday. Both Hassan Omali and Mohammed Shoba announced their resignation from the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressives Congress, respectively. Omali, who is from Kogi State, has disclosed he will be joining Action Democratic Party ADP, but Shoba, representing Kaduna State, did not disclose his new party. Meanwhile, the Deputy Senate President and a leader of the People's Democratic Party in the Southeast, Senator Ike Ekweremadu, has been reacting to speculations making the rounds that he was on the verge of the campaign to the ruling APC. While there were reports that the lawmaker was leaving the party following some decisions taken by the PDP leadership which were not in his favor. There was also ill feeling after a former governor of Anambra State, Peter Obi, was picked as the running mate to the party's presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, without the consent of the party leadership in the region. While reacting on his Facebook page, Ekweremadu confirms he was still a member of the main opposition party, PDP. And a federal high court in Lagos has granted 50 million naira bail to the immediate past governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose. The former governor is standing trial over an 11-count charge bordering on money laundering. abuse of public office, criminal breach of trust, and stealing up to the tune of 6.9 billion naira preferred against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. The former governor had pleaded not guilty to the charges when they were read to him in court on Monday. Justice Mojisola Olatoregu, in her ruling, also asked Fayose to provide 2 sureties in like sum. The judge, however, said the ex-governor should be remanded in the prison custody pending the fulfillment of the bail condition. Meanwhile, the EFCC has closed its case in a 3.9 billion naira money laundering case involving a former chief of air staff, Alex Bade. Bade is standing trial alongside Iyali Cam Nigeria Limited before Justice Okun Abang of the Federal High Court, Maitama, Abuja. He is accused of abusing his position by diverting Nigeria Air Force funds for personal enrichment and acquisition of properties in choice areas in Abuja. The former air chief was first arraigned in 2015 on a 10-count charge bordering on criminal breach of trust, abuse of office, and money laundering to the tune of 3.9 billion naira. Upon discovery of fresh evidence, Bade was rearranged by the Anti-Graft Agency on July 4, 2018, on an amended 14-count charge bordering on money laundering, which he pleaded not guilty to. Still on judicial matters, the National Industrial Court, Abuja, has granted 3 applications filed by the suspended Director General of Securities and Exchange Commission, Monua Gwazo. Gwazo was suspended in November 2017 by the former Minister of Finance, Kemi Adeosun, over alleged financial misappropriation. He is seeking a declaration that his appointment as DG of SEC was valid, legal, and subsisting, among other claims. In the resumed hearing, Gwazo's counsel, Adetayo Adeyemi, told the court that he had 3 applications for extension of time, which was supported by an 8-paragraph affidavit. There were no legal representation for the finance minister, also joined as respondent, while the case was adjourned until November 29 for hearing of pending applications. The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Adams Oshiomhole, is asking the Federal High Court to strike out a suit seeking an order compelling the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to investigate allegations of corruption against him. The case, which was instituted by an Edo State indigene, Bishop Osadolo Ochie, is asking the court to compel the EFCC to investigate the former governor of Edo State on a case of alleged corruption and diversion of public funds. The Federal High Court has adjourned the case till November 19, 2018, and Tunji Oye has the rest of the story.
In the days to come, we may be witnessing the trial of the national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Adams Oshiomhole, in this court. A petition was written in 2016 to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on alleged corruption and diversion of public funds by Oshiomhole while presiding over the affairs of Edo State as governor. The petitioner, Bishop Osadolo Ochie, alleged that the EFCC willfully refused to investigate the former governor despite several petitions and documentary evidences, eventually secured the powers of the court to summon both the EFCC and Oshiomhole.
I'm a man that has been denied good governance. As a human rights activist, as an anti-corruption crusader, if you come to the area I dwell, I classified it as government-rejected area. That is where I dwell. For over the years, particularly since Comrade Adams Oshiomhole came on board, no razor blade have entered that area. In those days, they do grade rules once December, January. But from 2007 till today, as I speak, all the rules in where I stay, Ward 5, in the Ekpoboha local government area, is in deplorable condition. And we went ahead to investigate and came up with some documents with which the monies were stolen or diverted or misappropriated. So on the basis of that, I approached EFCC with concrete petition. Came to EFCC in 2016. I've been writing, publishing, and been doing all sorts of things. They never cared to listen.
At the resumed hearing of the matter on Tuesday, EFCC did not show up in court, but counsel to Adams Oshiomhole told the court that an application has been filed to determine if the petitioner has a local standing to sue Adams Oshiomhole.
We have seen the paperwork that has been filed, and There is absolutely nothing to be bothered about. Absolutely nothing to bother about. Apart from the factual issues which the court will decide, we have raised technical issues as regards the competence of the action. Before a court of law will assume jurisdiction to hear a case and decide it, the court must be satisfied, one, that the plaintiff is a proper plaintiff who has a locus standi to approach the court. Once you have satisfied that, the court will now ask itself the question, this plaintiff, has he come to court within the time specified by law? So even if you have a right to approach the courts and you go and sleep on your rights and decide to approach the courts at a time that is politically expedient or convenient for you, you have to contend with convincing the court that your action is brought within time.
We were here the last time. We could have gone for hearing today, but you see that EFCC was not represented. Comrade Oshiomhole has been represented by a very eminent lawyer and who served us today with a preliminary objection on the basis that they are challenging the local standing of the applicant as well as the fact that the matter may be statute barred. We will now respond to this, and the matter has been set down for hearing of this preliminary objection on the 19th of this month, and hopefully a ruling as the court may please.
The matter has been adjourned to the 19th of November to determine the application of the first defendant. From Abuja, Tunji, TV360 News.
Now, some activists have been calling on Nigerians not to forget the labors of past heroes who fought ultimately for the nation. They are speaking at the unveiling of Onyenkuzi, a 350-page book of the life and times of Reuben Uzoma in Abuja.
The book Onyenkuzi is a historical biography which offers insights into the immeasurable contributions of the late Reuben Ibekwe Uzoma to nation building and education in Nigeria. The book title is derived from Uzoma's early career sobriquet as a young teacher and educator. He was popularly referred to as Onyenkuzi, meaning the teacher, counselor, or simply someone who leads the way. Nigerians have been urged to emulate the pivotal contributions of this icon of education and other great men and women.
The fathers of this nation who fought so hard, how are we paying them back? Every time I hear the national anthem, those words, that the labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. Can we truly say, as we are seated here, all of us here, as we are in this room, have we indeed made sure that the labor of our heroes past is not in vain?
The lessons of today are enormous. As we x-ray the works of our forebears, learn from what they did to moderate our present actions. Let us pray that their actions will spur us and their mistakes will redirect us in our action.
On her part, Adaora Okwosa, the author of Onyenkuzi and daughter of the academic luminary, says the release of the book serves to unfold certain events in Nigeria that held out so much promise.
By 2012, my primary sources for any knowledge of R.I. Uzoma would be his students or his colleagues at work. When R.I. passed on in 2012, he was 88 years old. By 2012, he would have been 100 years old.
The book launch was graced by friends, colleagues, and admirers who turned out in their numbers for this masterpiece on fascinating biography of a well-known education colossus of our generation. Oyin Adekunle, TV360 Nigeria.
And you're still watching news now on TV360 Nigeria. We'll be back shortly with the latest in business.
On Digi 360, we don't just ask the questions. What is wrong with amending the Constitution the way the National Assembly members have been doing it? We seek answers.
Constitution is constituent. Our problem is not lack of laws. Our problem is lack of the willpower to implement our laws.
Answers that provide clarity.
While we negotiate, we should try to make it a point that the girls must be complete.
The clarity you need to make informed judgment so that you can make the right decision and take action. People are saying it is you politicians that are responsible for this, that you are the reason why this is happening.
All these dollars that call themselves governors in this country?
I wish we had people like Tony at the National Assembly.
God forbid that I go to join that band.
TV360, providing clarity to issues.
Welcome back to News Now. We'll go over now to check in with Esther for News and Business. Hello, Esther.
Hi, Aneta.
So the latest report right now is that the International Monetary Fund, IMF, is warning, and not just Nigeria now, but also other oil-producing countries about, rising debts and, of course, borrowing. So, and I hear that, Nigerians have been reacting, and one man in particular has something to say. Let's know more about that.
Yes, actually, the Vice President of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Gabriel Idahosa, has been reacting to the IMF report on the likelihood of debt crisis in Nigeria. The International Monetary Fund has been warning that Nigeria is at the risk of debt crisis if the country does not cut down on its borrowing. But Idahosa has a different opinion.
The Debt Management Office is correct that there is no crisis at this point, and there are certain parameters that are used to really indicate whether there is a debt crisis. One of them is the debt to GDP ratio of a country. At this point, Nigeria is at 21%. And generally, when a country is below 40% of debts to GDP, you are considered safe in the sense that your debt level can be accommodated within that size of your GDP. So to that extent, Nigeria has not overborrowed. You could technically say Nigeria is underborrowed. But the other key parameter is your debt service ratio to your revenue. That is how much of your total revenue per annum you spend to service debts. That is where the IMF has a primary concern, and also the Nigerian business community is concerned that at this point, the federal government is spending about 70% of its revenue to service debts, which means that really it cannot service debts from its revenues. That's why it is borrowing to service some of those debts. So it is refinancing those debts. It's not a lot of the borrowing is not new debts, but it's just borrowing to pay old debts, because out of its current revenue, it cannot pay all the debts that are due. Because if you spend 70% of current revenue to service debts, it means that a lot of other areas will suffer. Services will suffer, capital expenditure will suffer. So that is the area of concern, that our revenues are not going as fast, are not growing as fast as our borrowing is growing. And even the Debt Management Office acknowledged that all they need to do is to continue to grow Nigeria's revenue so that we can pay those debts.
Idahosa has also been speaking on the possible causes of Nigeria's food inflation, which has been rising in the past 2 months after 18 consecutive months of decline. Here's what he has to say.
The Debt Management Office is correct that there is no... Well, two reasons. One remote, that is much longer, one immediate. The remote one has been the fact that we lost most of the Northeast in agriculture for several years, and that meant that our capacity to produce food at the level we were doing before the crisis really aggravated was reduced. That is the remote cause. The immediate cause, of course, is the massive flooding, which we had in several parts of the country. A lot of areas, several states lost several hectares of farmlands. In most cases, these were farmlands that were just ready for harvesting. rice farms, a lot of rice farms were affected, other vegetable farms across various states, all along the Niger and the river basin were also severely affected. And not only were farms affected, the road infrastructure, a lot of bridges were destroyed, the road that took the farms, the jetties, the river ports that were used to move products were also affected. So both the food themselves and the logistics of moving the food to the urban areas were all affected. So that's what is reflecting in the food price inflation we are seeing, but which is a short term, because hopefully we don't have another flood next year. We import to the extent that we don't produce some of the products, but we have the capacity. So we import as a matter of default because we don't produce enough rice, for example. We import, and of course we import the inflation with it because of the naira-dollar exchange rate. So the real cause of it is our inability to locally produce. Once we don't produce locally, it is now a default situation that we now import.
Meanwhile, on the global oil market, oil prices rose to a $77 a barrel on Wednesday after hitting a 2-month low as the focus returned to looming U.S. sanctions on oil exporter Iran. Brent crude was up 52 cents at $76.96 a barrel. It fell earlier in the day to $75.11 a barrel. That's the lowest since August 24. Now, US was up 65 cents at $67.08 a barrel. Now, crude fell sharply on Tuesday, with Brent closing down 4.3% on growing concern about a weaker outlook for economic growth and demand and easing supply worries. Up next is the stock market report. Do stay with us.
In the last 3 years, we have built a multi-purpose center, which is the envy of all in our constituency. And I can tell you that the people who are living there are already enjoying it.
Guy, do you think what this man just said is true? See, I seriously doubt. I'm sure it's one of those their silly lies.
And wait, do you know there's a way to find out if these things he's saying is true or not? This is the Construct app. It gives people like us a sure way to track implementation of constituency projects. It gives valid and verified information on location of projects, amounts allocated, amount funded, the level of job done, and even the profiles of concerned legislators. You and I can post directly on this app.
Are you serious?
This is the Go-To app if you want to know how our Commonwealth is being expanded by the government.
Wow. Let's even see if what this man said is true. Show me.
The Construct app is developed by Other Paper Nigeria with support from USAID and is available on both Google Play Store and Apple Store.
And it's true.
Of course, I told you.
Losing over 300% of gains recorded in the previous session, the NSE closed the market today with a 2.37% decline in the all-share index. Yesterday, we closed at 0.69% rise. Now, having recorded over 2 billion naira worth of shares traded in over 3,000 deals, the top traders chart was led by 3 of yesterday's top traders, with Regency Assurance PLC coming in with over 16 million shares traded, making the top 4. Now, recording the most loss was the industrial goods sector, declining by over 4%, the totality of which was from Dangote Cement. Nestle lost the gains it recorded in its previous session. Dangote Cement, as I said, recorded the most loss today. Unilever remained on the losers chart, while Flour Mills of Nigeria joined the losers chart, top 4 losers chart for today. On our gainers chart, we have Guinness Nigeria PLC, Forte Oil, Nigerian Breweries, and Cadbury Nigeria. Now, taking a look at the global stock market, we see from yesterday they were all in the reds, but today we have the London Stock Exchange closing with a 0.11% rise, the Dow Jones closing with a 0.43% decline, and while Nikkei, the Asian Stock Exchange, closed with a 0.37% decline in its all-share index. That's all I have for you, Netta.
Thank you, Esther. Such a pity that Wall Street ended today on the negative note.
Yeah.
Well, next up is news in Africa and in sports. To stay with us.
Corruption not in my country. How work? Oh, correct, Oga. What is it that you are doing?
Oga, they come on the part now. Make we go sell for.
Oga, na correct kuzabi this so. Oga Titus and him boys them. They do am. They will come out the original parts, sell them, make plenty kusa.
No wonder our customers bring the generator back to our workshop because they bad. And not because of stuff.
Now because they overuse the generator. Plus say NEPA no they give them electricity.
Before I open my eye, Makachuku look at my talk in the heaven. Replace this original generator parts back inside this generator of my customer. In short, before we do am, frog jump. One, frog jump. 1, 2, 1. Stealing of generator parts or changing of original parts to a fake one. That is corruption. Not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Fighting between clans in Somalia's breakaway Somaliland region has killed more than 50 people. Abdullahi Ali Hissi, Interior Minister of Puntland, says 51 people died and 120 others were injured in fighting, with clans exchanging heavy weapons fire for the second day. Somaliland broke away from Somalia in 1991 and operates as an independent state but has not won international recognition. Jumeirah is in an area controlled by Somaliland but which has been claimed by Puntland for years. Malaysia's former leader Najib Razak and 2 of his allies will face corruption charges on Thursday as authorities target a growing list of figures linked to the scandal-plagued old regime. Najib has already been hit with 32 charges related to allegations he and his friends plundered state fund IMDb and is likely facing a long jail term. The scandal played a major part in persuading voters to oust his coalition at elections in May after 6 decades in power and elect a reformist alliance. A senior finance ministry official, Muhammad Abdullah, the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, says Najib is due to be charged in court on Thursday, along with the former head of a shadowy spy agency, Hassana Abdul Hamid. And taking a look at sports now, Aimba head coach Usman Abdallah is confident his side can claim a place in the final of the CAF Confederation Cup at the expense of Raja Casablanca, despite going down to a 1-0 defeat in Aba in the first leg of their semi-final fixture. Abdallah Afidi netted the decisive winner 5 minutes after the break to hand Aimba their first defeat at the newly renovated Aimba International Stadium Aba in the first leg. Stanley Dingba missed the chance to equalize for the 2-time African champions few minutes later after missing from the spot. The People's Elephants now have a tough task at hand as they look to overcome a Raja side that are unbeaten in 10 matches and have lost just once in their last 15 matches. Spanish footballer Marco Alonso has signed a 5-year contract extension deal with Chelsea that will keep him with the club until 2023. While expressing happiness over the same, the 27-year-old stated that he had some good season with the club and that he's now looking forward to more. Chelsea director Marina Granovskova also expressed delight over the extension of players' contract and further praised the defender for his outstanding ability and fantastic attitude. Alonso has played a total of 92 matches for Chelsea, scoring 15 goals along with 11 assists. Wrapping up with that good news, thank you so much for joining us on News Now today on TV360 Nigeria. I am Anetta Felix. See you next time.